Tell me in the comments below if any of these sound familiar. Number one, you do 100 things in a day, but when you take a look at the grand scheme of things, you realize that you've done all this work, but you have not accomplished much. Number two, you get an assigned essay due in 2 months. You let a month and 20 days go by without doing anything, as one does. And you realize that you only have 10 days left to complete a 2-month project. But for some magical reason, 10 days happens to be exactly how much time you need to complete it. Or number three, you are out on your daily walk on the park and you add an extra half mile to your walk. No sweat, you didn't even think about it. It was so easy. But getting up from the couch to walk for just 5 minutes seems nearly impossible. If any of these ring a bell, that means you are familiar with at least one of the 3 laws of productivity. And to be perfectly clear, these aren't really laws as much as they are principles based on empirical observations, except for number 3. Let's jump in. Number 1 is the Pareto Principle, aka the 80-20 rule. The principle suggests that 80% of your results come from 20% of your inputs. But the key here is to know which 20% of your inputs will be the ones yielding 80% of the results. Imagine if only 20% of your daily tasks led to 80% of your most significant results. By identifying and focusing on that crucial 20%, you could boost your productivity massively. The Pareto Principle is well known in business. That's actually how I first stumbled upon it. And it's often stated in many different ways. For example, 80% of a company's profits come from 20% of its customers. Or 80% of complaints arise from 20% of the products. Once you start looking, you'll see the 80-20 ratio almost everywhere. So how do you apply this principle to your life? It all starts with analyzing your tasks, projects, or goals. No judgment, just analyze and identify the 20% of efforts that yield the most results to your desired outcome. Once you've identified them, focus on those high-yield activities first. For example, if you're in sales, determine which products or clients generate most of your revenue and prioritize those. Or if you're learning a new skill, focus on mastering the essential parts that will give you the majority of the benefits. By doing this, you'll harness the Pareto Principle and achieve more with less effort. Number 2 is Parkinson's Law, coined by Cyril Northcote Parkinson. I guess Cyril's Law or Northcote's Law doesn't have the same ring to it. But anyways, Parkinson's Law states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Going back to the example I gave at the beginning of the video, have you ever noticed that if you have 2 months to complete a task, it'll take you exactly those 2 months, but if you only have 10 days to complete the same task, you somehow manage to do it in 10 days. Well, that's Parkinson's Law in action. The way to harness Parkinson's Law is to set tighter deadlines for yourself. If you believe a project will take a week, try giving yourself only 3 days. Break the task into smaller, more manageable chunks, and set a timer to work intensively for short bursts, perhaps using methods like the Pomodoro technique. This creates a sense of urgency and reduces procrastination. As you implement Parkinson's Law, avoid over-planning. Instead, dive into the work and adjust as necessary. By consciously limiting the time that you allocate to do tasks, you'll become more efficient and decisive. And by intentionally shortening your deadlines, you might force yourself to focus, eliminate unnecessary details, and get tasks done more quickly. Now we move from sociology to physics for our 3rd law, and that is Isaac Newton's first law of motion. It states that an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an external force. How does this apply to productivity? Well, to harness Newton's first law of motion, you should focus on building momentum. When you start your day with small, easy-to-complete tasks, the satisfaction of completing this will propel you into more challenging or larger tasks. When faced with a huge, imposing task, don't focus on finishing it. Instead, focus on just starting it, even if it's for 5 minutes. Starting a task is often the hardest part, but once you get moving, it's easier to keep going. Understanding these 3 laws and implementing them together in your daily routine can create a powerhouse strategy for your work-life balance. So recognize your vital tasks, set shorter deadlines, and just get started to maintain momentum. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this type of content, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Let's do this.
It hits me like a tidal wave.